Hi, everyone. It's Shap. I am super excited today to have another amazing guest on Cutting the Crap with Shap, and he is Mr. Brian Propp. So before I let Brian introduce himself, let me just tell you, I'm a Philadelphia guy. I grew up watching the Flyers, the Sixers, the Eagles, and the Phillies. That was my childhood. I grew up right in Philadelphia, outside of Philadelphia. And I remember Brian Propp. Um, Having him on as a guest is going to be awesome. So I'm really appreciative of having Brian here. I think he's got a great story to tell. I think you're going to just love him. Matter of fact, I know you're going to love him. So, Brian, how you doing?
Yeah, pretty good. Well, happy Merry Christmas to everybody that here that's on the podcast.
Yeah, I think we're going to have such a great time. So, why don't we just start? Why don't you tell us, like, I guess maybe a little bit about, I mean, obviously you could tell us a little bit about your journey in hockey, what that was like.
Yeah, but first of all, I grew up in a little town in Saskatchewan of 300 people. My dad was a Lutheran minister. He preached in English and German every Sunday. And so that's how I got my faith when I was young. I have two brothers and two sisters. We're all 13 months apart. So at that time, we had our own hockey team because in Saskatchewan, you only 300 people. It's tough to build a team around that. So I had brothers and sisters there helping me. But my dad was a good teacher of hockey, and he taught me the right way how to play better and to be fair and be you give back and everything. But he helped me just the way I am, because I remember when I left for Brandon Wheat Kings when I was 17, he told me to be happy with yourself and everything else will take care of itself.
Yes, and I love that. I saw that you kind of mentioned that. And I guess my first question was like, do you realize how hard that is for people to do that?
Well, especially Saskatchewan, because when you're young, you don't know much better. You went to school and played hockey and good grades. So that's what we did. It was a simple life. There was no. We only had two channels. Like one of them went in fuzzy, and so but you usually watched NHL hockey every Saturday night, and you kind of followed hockey with that. But it was just a simple life, and it was just on the farm, and so I'm happy to be where I am. I'm glad that my dad taught me, and I played with good coaches and good players, and so that's why when I started when I was 15, and I played for the Melville Millionaires,
Oh
a
my
little
God.
town of 20 miles away from where I was in Newdorf in the South Hockey League, and so I broke the scoring that year, and then I moved on to Brandon Wheat Kings for 3 years, and I had powerful teams there. So I always had good coaches and good players with me. So that's why it probably made a difference of me just getting drafted by the Flyers in the first round in 78, 79.
Yeah, and I saw that, and I was like, man, how many years did you play for the Flies? Was it fifth? Was it 11?
Well, I was 11 years with the Flyers, a little bit with Boston, and 3 years at Minnesota, and then finished in Hartford, and then I played a year in France right after that. So it
Wow.
was a good career. So I did what I wanted to, and retired where I wanted to, and then I started. I built the Medford Ice Rink in New Jersey for 3 years and then ran all the programs there. I was a GM of the rink there, and then the Flyers. Asked me to do the radio for the Flyers halfway through the year because Steve Coates was going to move to TV, and then so yeah, I wasn't really that good, but you learn how to get better, and so I was 9 years with the Flyers, every home and away game and playoffs, and then from there I went to the Judge Group in Conshohocken, a big staffing company and technology company, and then I was the last 10 years I've been with Wolf Commercial Real Estate in Marlton.
Wow, man, that is a great journey. That's a great journey. So I want to ask you really quickly this, and okay, and I'm going to plead ignorance here, so forgive me. What is guffaw? Is it guffaw?
Yeah.
Is
So
it
guffaw means a hearty laughter. So in the 80s, Howie Mandel did shows in Atlantic City every summer. So I saw him a couple times. I really was happy, liked what he did. And but he did a thing called the guffaw, which means a hearty laughter. He did something in the show that kind of like raising his hand up, and so like I decided to copy him when I scored goals in the 80s. So I started copying him when I scored a goal. Guffaw, and it means a hearty laughter, and so and then it took off, and then I met him a couple other times after that, and then so he didn't mind that I trademarked the guffaw, but he had so many other things going on. He's Canadian, but he does a lot of work in in California. So I just got a chance to meet him a little bit more, like a year ago, at dinner with him and talking a little bit of his health and how I had a stroke, and we stay in touch every once in a while.
and actually that's a perfect segue. So I saw you have a book, Angel on My Wing, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So I was kind of looking at a little backstory here, and I think this is really going to be the main part of our time together. Is I think your ability to talk about being persistent and being having patience and staying positive, even going through some incredibly difficult times. I think it's going to be a great message for people. And and obviously we could talk about whatever you feel comfortable talking about, but why don't you kind of tell us a little bit about, well, obviously what it was like having a stroke and what you've learned, and then maybe about your book.
Yeah, so after my career for the Flyers, Dr. Dorsheimer, my doctor, he found out that I had AFib. So in the 2000s, like I still skated twice a week, and in New Jersey with a couple of guys that I know. So I was in good shape, but I found out that I had AFib, so I had to start taking a blood thinner, and so just to keep up with things. And so, like a couple of years after that, I decided to have an ablation of the heart, which is a 6 hour surgery. And so, and then it was going to work okay. So it took like a month after that to do all the testing and make sure that it was okay. And then I thought I was good because I didn't want to take blood thinners my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And so the way it worked out is that I think after time, the medication probably wore off, and I still skated twice a week and was in good shape. And I probably didn't had AFib that didn't notice it. And I was visiting my son's college in Annapolis, or checking a couple of schools. And so that first day I was okay, and then the second day I really had a bad headache. Stayed on the rented house. And that night, in the middle of the night, I fell out of bed, hit the side of the bed, lost a tooth. All these years playing hockey, didn't lose a tooth, couldn't talk or walk at all. So thankfully, my family was there to call 911 pretty fast. Otherwise, I'm not there. So the way it happened is that the clot went into my heart, into brain, three different places, and they were still amazed that I was still alive because like at the start, I couldn't even talk at all. So really tough to communicate. So it took me a year and a half to get better. And then I was in Annapolis for 5 days, and then I changed to McGee Hospital in Philadelphia, where they really did a good job of helping me. And so that's just where the story started.
Wow, man, you're blessed that your family was there. And I also think that the doctors, I mean, the fact that you were in really good health, like obviously being a professional hockey player, being active your whole life, did the doctors mention anything about how that might have made a difference?
Yeah, well, like I think, like as an athlete, you know that you're always looking for something to get better, and there's this way to learn about to get better and how to do better. At the start, like I was really worried because I didn't think I'd talk ever again, or do anything with my right side. And so thankfully for me, like it took a little time. The speech took the longest because I couldn't talk at all. It's really tough to communicate with people. And then of course, like my physical was good. And then occupational therapist, like I still have my right fingers are messed up, and so I don't have work. Can't do anything with that, and my right shoulder. But other than that, my feet and leg were okay, so I can still to this day still skate and play hockey and golf and go fishing. So I'm thankful for all of that because it was the thing that I loved my whole life of playing hockey and sports, and so it was just really good for me just to kind of to recover as much as I have. But at the start, I was there for 6 weeks every day in the hospital, getting a shot in the stomach and trying to communicate with other people. And then after that, it was 5 days a week of outpatient in McGee, and it took a year and a half. But after a year and a half, like when I was able to go back on the ice and skate, it made a big difference because so I'm so thankful every day that I am just to skate and have fun again.
Brian, that's such a great message. One of the questions I have for you is how did you and for people that are watching, I always talk about the podcast being like three goals that I always have. No matter who I have on, even if I'm just by myself, I always talk about you got to get something positive out of the podcast. And obviously Brian is going to be great at that. And number two, come away learning something that you didn't know before the podcast. And number three is having to make some kind of positive change in your life after seeing the podcast and something that we talk about. And listening to Brian, I guess, Brian, the question I have for you is obviously, I know it had to be a struggle. So you can just say that it had to be a struggle, but what got you through it?
Yeah, so I think well, my faith has a lot to do with it because of being positive and like my dad and being there and helping me and my family and the Flyers alumni that I know, all my friends and that I skate with and everybody. So like they protected me and they made sure that I'm doing well. And but that all positiveness things that you did made a difference for me. And then, of course, with me, after my stroke, like I've done a couple other things that have helped me out. Like a couple years after my stroke, where I couldn't talk or walk, the NHL program had a program that I went, the stem cell treatment in Colorado, where they took the cells from my hip and then they recirculated the blood and put the cells into my body again. Immediately noticed a big difference with my speech, and so that's one thing that I did. And a couple of years like after that, I did the thing called a Watchman in your heart. It can help with the people that have strokes. So if you put that over, that could make a big difference for strokes. And I did a lot of oxygenation oasis treatments, like 40 of those for an hour and a half each.
Wow.
And then I have a beamer machine. It's connected with a computer that it's a mat that you can connect to a computer, and you rely on it for 3 or 4 days, 3 hours at a time, and then the blood flow in your whole body gets increased by 30%. So like it's really healthy for you. So I don't have to worry about pills, and I still have to take a blood thinner and a small aspirin. But other than that, I'm healthy all the time. I have lots of energy, and then my wife has a franchise called Prime IV Hydration and Wellness in Marlton, and where it helped me with my NAD treatments. I did 4 hour drips at the start, 3 hour drips, and then after that, now every 3 months, I just maintain it with one drip of 3 hours, and the cells that you need in your body, it replaces them and cleanses your whole system, and it gives you more energy and more clarity for the brain. And so like I done that, and So I've noticed it's a big difference with my no swelling with my fingers and the right side. And so all these things that I've done on my book, I tell with people about it because every little bit can make a difference. Just
Hmm.
finding out more and keeping up with their rehab.
You know what? So do you know that I'm a teacher? Are you aware of that?
No.
Yes, I'm a health and physical education teacher. That's what I do for a living. And one of the things, Brian, that I always say, I teach high school, by the way. Um, I always say that first of all, getting educated is incredibly important.
Yeah.
Getting educated. I mean, like learning, reading, learning about your health and wellness. Like just looking at you, right? Just us talking. I would never know you had a stroke ever.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm in fat, fat. I'm very physical, because I walk like 3 or 4 hours, hours, and like miles a day, and so that helps me with clean out my hand and do a little walk, and you kind of meditate a little bit more, and with my faith, like my faith makes a big difference to me because I pray every day, and I just say, "Hey, how thankful I am to be alive," and then let people see me because they know that they have troubles, but if you have a positive attitude and you feel good, you bring everyone around with you, and it makes everybody happy. And so for me, I'm just happy to be alive every day and doing the things that I have, fishing and golfing and playing hockey and just being with people and telling people my story. So because to the hockey was okay, but I didn't really want to do a story about that. But after my stroke, I have a good story to tell about after my stroke and how I recovered, and people can see me and see how well I'm doing, and it gives a lot of people hope because I know a lot of people have strokes today, and I call them whenever I hear about them, and then I give them some help, and then just call them and just try to, hey, listen, don't give up hope, and just keep working on your rehab, and hopefully things will get okay for you.
I'm listening to you say that, um, and it speaks to the kind of person you are. Like just listening to you, being willing to go out of your way, um, to help people. Like I guess would you consider yourself a leader?
Yeah, yeah. Like when I first started, Bob Clark was he played with me for 5 years in
Yes.
the 1980s. And in the 80s, we had good teams in the Flyers. Like
Yeah.
I remember 1980, we had the 35 undefeated streak. We went to
Yeah.
the finals against the Islanders. That year, every team in Philadelphia went to the finals. And of
Yes.
course, we lost to the Islanders in overtime in Game 6. Otherwise, who knows? They could have won a Stanley Cup. But still being there and talking with people, but having leaders like Bob Clark and then Mark Howe, Dave Poulin, Tim Kerr, Brad McCrimmon.
Oh,
I learned from those guys because I was really quiet at the start. I didn't talk too much, and that's why with my book, Wayne Fish helped me run it, write it because he was a writer right there, and so I've known him all those years. And so, but it just took me a little. I was naive at the start, and
mhm.
then but it took a little time here to get more mature and figure out a little bit better how to be a better leader. So I think I learned from that, and like all better leaders are. Like on the book, like Wayne Gretzky and Lemieux are on the back, and so they taught me a difference too because you know Gretzky is one of the greatest leaders in the world,
Oh,
and so just learning from them and seeing how he reacts and how he treats people with the press and everything else, and just makes it so much better. And he puts himself everyone at ease. And so for me, it was really kind of easy for money to be a leader, and because I keep giving back, and like I have a hockey event that I run every year, and in Philadelphia at Aston Ice Rink, it'll be March 22nd. And so I have six former alumni, split up the two teams. and then we're running it for Headstrong Cancer in there, because the guy that I used to play with me, he died a year ago, so we kind of dedicated him for that tournament. And then I have my golf tournament that I run at Riverwinds Golf Course, my third year, May 12th at the Riverwinds Golf Club for the Stroke Center of University of Pennsylvania. And so that's why, like, I have these two charities that I try to help. But the Stroke Center is really good to me, and so for that, it just I'm trying to raise more money for research and getting help people have strokes.
Yeah, I'm proud of you, Brian. I'm listening. I'm listening to your story, and as an educator, somebody who teaches a lot of older kids, I teach high school. Um, I'm going to show them. I'm going to show them your podcast because I want them to see like what you've been through and what you're doing. First of all, you're incredibly humble. I can sense that you're giving back to people in a way that is so hard after what you've been through. I mean, it had to be. There had to be times where it was incredibly challenging.
Well, at the start, like, I always wanted something to happen faster because like I couldn't communicate, and so like I just wanted things to happen much faster. As an athlete, you always want to get better faster, but I think it took me like a month after my stroke, so I just decided, hey, listen, the brain has to heal. It's going to take a little longer than you think. Just like with most strokes, they take more time because your brain's not healing yet. And so I tell people just to be patient and take their time, because that makes a big difference. Because the people get upset, they always want things to happen, or why me?
Yes.
They're negative, and so I tell people just be positive and just take your time, and it'll take you a little time after your stroke to get better, but just be patient, and it'll take some time, but and do a good job with that. And so I think for me it was just being positive, like, and the support that I have for my family and families and Flyers alumni, because I know that Ed Snyder, he did me a favor because he gave me some money, like, because wasn't making that much money after when I started the real estate, and so he gave me some money. And then my boss, Jason Wolf, from Wolf Commercial Real Estate, he paid me the first year and a half, even though I wasn't making that much money, and so that made a big difference, because you had a struggle. I didn't make that much money when I played in hockey in the '80s.
Right.
Like like now they make a little more money, but you have to fight for everything that you get. But I'm just happy, doing the things that I have, paying my bills, because I have my consulting, I have the Wolf commercial, I have and I have my own cigar brand, the Gaffa cigar brand. So like, every little bit helps, and to make a little extra.
You know what's funny is that when people watch this, like when you think about it, when you think about somebody who had a very long hockey career, like 15 years, right?
Yes.
You said if you said to somebody, you know what, I know this person, this professional athlete, and very successful too, like not somebody who wasn't successful, had a lot of success. The first thing that people think about is, oh my God, this person has to have everything, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right? They think that everything. And it's such flawed thinking. And I'm so glad that I like your honesty, just being honest about it and saying, like, listen, this has not always been easy. We didn't make a lot of money, but I've had a lot of support around me. I think that speaks to your character. Like the people that are helping you, if you weren't a good guy, if you weren't somebody that they admired, do you think they'd be helping you?
Yeah, yeah, well, of course, but for me, like, I always tried different things. Like, with the hockey, like, did it for 3 years, and then I got the job with the Flyers. But then I was a financial advisor. I was the health, the Aflac ran. I tried a bunch of different things. You have to do whatever you do just to try to get better. And now with Wolf Commercial, I've been there 10 years, and so I have that license. And so you just keep trying until you figure something else that you need to get better with.
You know, I hear that. I hear that. And I will tell you that I'm very much the same way. I've always been somebody who's willing to try new things. Always trying new things. I mean, look, we're on a podcast together.
Yeah, yeah.
We're doing a podcast. For some people, though, what would you say to them if they are struggling? Like they've had a stroke, they're struggling. What would you say to them to kind of inspire them to kind of stay the course?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, I tell people, hey, listen, just call me because I have my cell number available anytime, and so people can just call at any time that they want. Because and I get a lot of people that call me whenever they need some help, and so that's number one. Because if people want some help, don't be afraid to ask, and then rehab and talking to some friends that are family that are good friends of yours, to not give up. But I think for me, just call me at any time, because like a lot of people I know, like they don't want to call, and so they're stubborn, and so like
Right?
they don't want to ask for help, and so it makes a difference, just to let people know that I'm available and they can talk to me.
Well, you and think about that. But I would also say, if you think to yourself, like the average person is is going to struggle calling a professional hockey player. Like that's not easy. Like I mean, you got to have a certain amount of confidence to be able to say, "Oh my God, Brian Propp, yeah, great, he's a great hockey player out of Philly. Oh, I'm not going to call him. He's not going to want to talk to me. He's not. I'm just this person." The fact that you're willing to do that speaks volumes.
Yeah, because a lot of people that have strokes, I know, like every month, I find other people that have strokes or mini strokes, and so like I what I do, I find out from friends, and so what I do is I'll call them right at the start and just say, hey, listen, here's what happened, or don't give up, and give me a call anytime you want, and just see how you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's great, and I think that's going to be a really like positive message. I want to just talk briefly a little bit about kind of your book and the process. I'm an author, so I have a book.
Yes.
What was it like writing your book? Like, what was that like? Thinking about all that you've been through.
Yeah, so like for me, it was like Wayne Fish helped me, like the idea of the writing a book, because he did a book with Chris Terrian like 4 years
Mhm.
before, so he kind of knew the process. And so for me, it was like a 2 year process where I did recordings for a year, and then it took another 9 months to edit everything to get it all ready. And so it takes a little time, so you have to think about it. You put everything together, do the recordings, and trying to make sure that everything's making safe. Like, because it talks about my faith, being with my family in Saskatchewan, my hockey career, the things that have happened, like with Pelly Lindbergh dying and Brad
Yes.
McCrimmon dying, and then a little bit of hockey, and then my stroke and how I recover from my stroke, and how I can help a lot of other people. So it just the process is to take like a 2 year process, but to do it the right way and have people believing in it. I think that right now I'm number one for books, for stroke books, and so because it just opened us October, and so I know a lot of people in Canada and the U.S. Because they can always go to Amazon and buy the books, and in Canada they can do Indigo, and so a lot of people that I know that I've been doing all the podcasts with, like they know that if they want to order a book, like a Christmas gift or something
Yep.
like that, it's only $30, and then they learn from that, and they'll have it ready.
And I think that's great. Being a fellow author, I think anytime we can spread a positive message, like mine is obviously about education because that's what I do. Yours is about a stroke, but it's also about education in a different way, like how to overcome and deal with having a stroke, which I know people that have had strokes. It's incredibly challenging, um, just because it's debilitating.
Yeah, I know, and I know for me, like for me, I'm really kind of humble, but and I don't like confrontation, and so it's like it's tough for me just because like you have to say yes, just like when you a sales call and you don't know how to say no, but you just have to figure out a way to yes. So I had to learn a little bit how to say yes and not just be no all the time or not call at all. So like it's it depends on the person, but I'm not not really good with negotiating, and so like I don't negotiate really well. But so thankfully, Wayne Fish helped me.
Hey, that's okay. Listen, you can't do everything well. Nobody's great at everything.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. Well, yeah, but again, I'm still happy every day to be alive because I see people that are dying, and like look what happened to New Jersey, the Gaudreau boys. They were
yes.
going to a wedding with they were riding a bike. They got run over by a drunk driver. Like life is precious, so you never know what's going to happen. It's here and it's gone, and so for a lot of people, it's. I tell people, hey, just be happy with your own life, and
Oh,
everything else takes care of itself. Just have fun, and don't worry about too many things. And especially when you get older, you put up with a lot more because it's just you don't want to get the hassle.
how old are you, Brian?
I'm 65.
65. Right. So I'm 59. How many kids do you have?
I have two. My daughter's 28 and my son's 26.
Okay, right. So my kids are 23 and 22. And
Yeah.
it's like just thinking about you're so right. Is I think about myself at 59 compared to when I was like even 30, you have a much and tell me if this is true. Do you feel like you appreciate and again if it's not, like just be honest, do you feel like you appreciate things much more now than you did when you were young?
Oh God, yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah, because I think it's all about perspective, right? Like, and again, you can speak to that, like from having being a stroke victim. There's so much perspective that we don't realize.
Oh yeah, definitely. And yeah, so like just again, like just being happy with your own life and then just letting be a good example because my dad taught me to be a good example and to give back and charitable.
Yeah, and it's a shame. We just, during the holiday season, students in one of my classes, they got me a shirt, and the shirt says "Just a chill guy." Because I always talk about just being positive, like be a happy person. There's so many things in our world that can go wrong. Trying to appreciate the things that you do have instead of always complaining about the things that you don't have, because everybody has struggles.
Yeah, yeah. And so like yeah, just like you said, we were just happy to be giving back and trying to make sure that there's other things that we can help people with.
Is there a closing message or something that you would like to give to people? And then obviously you can talk about how we can get in contact with you. But is there a message you'd like to leave with people?
Yeah, so if anybody wants to go to my brianpropp.com website, I have a lot of information on that. And but I tell people to never give up hope and to just be happy with your life and everything takes care of itself. But I think the hope that people need when they're down, it makes a difference just to stay positive.
I love it. I love it. As always, everybody, before I forget, first of all, Brian, thank you for being an amazing guest.
Oh, thank you.
I loved your conversation. Once we're done, just please stay on for a sec, okay?
Yeah, no problem.
For everybody else, please consider subscribing to the podcast, Cutting the Crap with Shap. We're on Spotify and YouTube, so please consider subscribing. I'm going to have all of my contact information. Brian's contact information will be at the end of the podcast, so please check it out. Please check out his book, Angel on My Wing. I think it would be an amazing read. For those in the education field, my book is Dream Big Stories and Strategies for a Successful Classroom. So I hope you'll check that out. And as a closing message, I want to make sure I get this right. So what was you said something along, be happy, everything will be all right. Is that the closing message?
So I think be happy with your own life because
Yes.
everything else will take care of itself. Because I know a lot of people that are don't follow their own message. Like they're not happy with their own life. So I just tell people, just be happy with your own life. Everything else will take care of itself.
Oh, that's it, everybody. Be happy with your own life. Everything else will take care of itself. I love that, Brian. Everybody, thank you so much for listening and watching Brian. I loved his message. It's just so positive. I hope you have a great holiday. Thanks again for all you do. As always, you are awesome.